All right, everyone. So I want to welcome you to your next session of our Ignite After Dark. And today we are actually going through discussing the habits to build a financially sound real estate business. So it's one of the fun classes I like to go through. I enjoy talking about money and how to structure businesses. To give you all an idea of who I am, my name is Brandon Martinez. I am the Director of Relationships, also known as the team leader of Keller Williams Legacy here in Towson, Maryland. So I have a very interesting background when it comes into real estate. I've been in some form of real estate for the last 16 years. So I've worked in many different roles, from being on the financing side to negotiating contracts to buying to being an investor. And then I've also consulted on almost every level that you can imagine. So I did consulting from a point where I was coaching realtors, ended up coaching a few people, went into the service industry, and then also into the hospitality industry. Never worked in service or hospitality, but was able to coach, guide, and consult and increase revenue. In one case, 85-fold from being there. So what I enjoy doing is talking to people about business, their own, and how they can structure it and how they can do more. So today's class is phenomenal for me because one thing that is key to all businesses is having a great financial structure and having a true financial understanding of the business that you're in, what it actually means to know your numbers, what those numbers look like, and how that drives profit and revenue for you, for your business. This class is roughly going to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm going to tell you I'm an extreme talker. So I love to talk, love to chat, love to give stories, but also love to engage. So if there's anything that you guys want to share, I'm going to ask questions. Please give feedback, communicate, talk with you. The more you share, the more you learn. Normally when you're going through Ignite, COVID and starting to do Ignite After Dark, things became a little bit different with the Zoom classes. When we were all in person, we would take time out to lead gen together. So although I won't ask you to lead gen during our Zoom time today, I hope you guys are taking time out to, one, touch base with your sphere, touch base with people that you know, touch base with people that you don't know. Let them know that you're a real estate agent. Let them know that you're learning about real estate. Let them know that you're trying to better yourself. The more you share that story, the more people will go out of their way to help you be better at whatever it is you're working towards. So as we talk about things that we're working towards, and we've been on this journey, we've been through several classes, somebody please share with me. Let me know something, not just that you learned, but let me know something that you're grateful for since you started this journey.
Hi. Did you say your name was Brandon? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Brandon. I'm Amber. What I've learned, well, what I appreciate, I love KWP. Well, I'm with KWPP Preferred Properties, and I love all the support, all the technology, all the training. I absolutely think I'm in the right room, and I'm just appreciative.
Awesome. Awesome. You got a great group there. So I like those guys a lot. I do a lot of things with them as well as my market center. So I agree with you. That support is unquestionably, it helps. It helps a lot, especially when you don't know what you don't know. Having somebody who's there to guide you and they don't judge you, they're just there to help. It means a lot. So I appreciate hearing that. Who else? Something else that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful to, I keep telling everyone my mantra is trust the system. So I'm doing it more and more every day. I have a potential lead, and after talking to Mike Bailey, well, he taught us last night, the person wants me to do all this stuff without including her daughter, who's going to be part of it. And so I took his information last night and I called her today and said, we must have a meeting with your daughter and yourself. And I have a questionnaire for you all to fill out to know what your needs are, but I must meet with both of you. So I was gonna lean back and do all this searching for her, and he just drove that home. Don't do that. So I'm learning a little bit every day.
It's all right. Hey, just that little bit takes you further. The further you go down your path, the better it is. And Mike's phenomenal. Honestly, I was supposed to teach this class the day before Mike because I never want to follow behind Mike when he teaches. But scheduling got conflicted, so it's all right. But yeah, Mike is a phenomenal instructor. Take anything he says to heart because it will help you truly. Anybody else? I love gratitude. So what are you grateful for on this journey that you're on so far?
So this is Debbie, and I'm grateful that I've already made quite a few friendships. There's some wonderful people in this class. In fact, I've been trying to find them on Facebook so I can friend them. So any of y'all find me, please friend request me. I'm also grateful for hope, because I've been I was in IT, in healthcare, and I was really burned out, and I'm an older lady, so starting over wasn't going to be easy for me. Real estate is in my family, and I wanted to do, I was interested in it for that, but it has given me hope that that I'm not a horse ready to be put, you know, put out in the pasture and just left there, right? That I can still be a productive member of society and make a lot of new friends and it's so far I'm really having a lot of fun doing this. So lot to learn, but
You said two things that speak a lot to me. One, you're grateful for the relationships that you created. I love the relationships so much that I literally changed my title from team leader of the Market Center to director of relationships, because I appreciate the relationships and the people that we get to come across. It means so much that is where you're going to learn a lot. That is where you're going to see your business change and develop just from the relationships and the people you know. There are going to be days that your offer gets accepted or you accept an offer just because you know the other agent, and that's the sole. Now, mind you, you're looking out for your client's best interest, but two exact offers come in that are exactly the same, gives your client the exact same thing. You will want to work with somebody that you built a relationship and that you know. It just makes the world better. So I truly appreciate that. The second thing that you said is you're having fun. Do something that you enjoy doing. Have fun with it. The one thing I love about this industry is you literally can do whatever it is that you want. You can have it set up however you want. So depending on who taught a couple classes, you may have heard a few stories. Alana and I share a story that we enjoy. And it's just from that lead gen aspect. So one thing about doing real estate, we have to go out and cultivate business. People have to know what we do. We have to share it. And there are different ways that you can go about doing that. You can go, one, the old school way of you're on the phone, you're driving business, you're creating and cultivating. You have some of the younger kids, or younger agents, I should say, who are TikTok famous, Instagram, social media heavy, and driving all their business that way. And then you have people like me who I just love to interact. So whatever I can do to interact with people, that's what we want to do. We have a lead gen session coming up in the Market Center where we're going out to a ball game and we're going to network at the ball game. I'm going to show people how I network, how I go about building business. How I got into consulting was literally just sharing my story and talking to people and sharing ideas and strategies. Next thing you know, I realized I had a business on my hand that I had to be very structured about, of how to, one, monetize it, but then two, what do the numbers actually look like? What is my overhead? What are my expenses? Which goes into some of the financial things we'll talk about. But I had fun doing it. And so because that's what I enjoy doing, that's what I run with. There's a story of an agent who's in Georgia. She thought about her life and her business, and one thing that she was missing, she loved playing tennis. That's where her focus was. And what's cool about her story is she tried to time block and say that I'm going to take time out to play tennis one day a week. But then she said she's going to be purposeful about it. So what she did was, I'm going to go play, but I need to invite one of either my past clients or somebody referred. I'm going to take them out to play tennis with me. Fast forward through the story, not only did she do that on a regular basis, but 1 hour a week turned into 1 day a week, turned into now this is her lead gen strategy. She no longer calls people on the phone. If she's calling, it's to invite them to the tennis session she has. If she's doing something on social media, it's about, hey, come play tennis with me. She's got it built out so much now that all the balls are branded with her company logo. The towels are branded with her logo. The water bottles are branded with her logo. And now she has a whole 4 or 5 courts that are taken up with just her clients coming out to socialize and play tennis. Well, for her, she's built a business where, one, she's having fun, but two, all of her clients are engaged in the same thing that she does. You can build your structure out, have fun with this business, build it out in a way that makes sense to you, that you can enjoy. So Debbie, I like I said, having fun in relationships, means the world. Those are two things that are phenomenal. Let's take that gratitude and let's transition a little bit. So ask this question: what opportunities, now that we've been through a few Ignite classes, what opportunities do you see for yourself? And what gets you excited about those opportunities?
I have to say, I'm like super impressed by the different places that you can go to get leads. That's one thing I never would have expected. I obviously knew I could talk to my sphere of influence and go on Facebook, go on Twitter, go on whatever. But like being able to go and request public records and things like that, I never would have known that. It just kind of didn't even dawn on me that you could look at things like that. They were talking about going to the court and the probate court and finding out, people that have recently passed and their homes are now going to be going on market. Never would have dreamed of that being a place to get leads. So that's something I'm just like blown away and just so grateful that I was, listening, paying attention for that, because that just like blew my mind.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. It's true. There's not one, and that's the beauty of this business. There's not one specific route that you have to go. We followed the Millionaire Real Estate Agent because it gives you the structure, but it's the structure of multiple agents going forward. And this is the path they went down, but there's variants that you can use within it. How you create, as long as you know what you're measuring with whatever path you go through, you can be successful with it. I love that. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. Anyone else? What's another opportunity that you see for yourself in this business, and what makes you excited about it?
Can I speak? I see an opportunity for freedom from my perspective. I need more freedom. I currently, work in the medical field as well, and it's very restricting. As you can see, I was driving on my way home and then, logged into the class. I need more freedom so that I can take care of my responsibilities, and I need more financial freedom as well.
Sure, I appreciate that. I think whether we all say it or not, I think that freedom is something that is freedom in time. I don't think we appreciate it until it's taken away from us, or until we're put in such a box that we can't do the things that we want to do for others, not just for ourselves. I think that's where that challenge comes in. But the beauty of this industry is it gives you that time, that space, that medium, and it gives you the income to be able to go out and do those things for others. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's phenomenal. And I think you see in the chat, a lot of us feel the same way. So that's huge. Well, to have that freedom, you mentioned the last part is that financial freedom, right? So, to truly understand the financial freedom, we have to know where our money is going to come from, where it's going, and how we need to manage it, and what we should do on it. If we can have that solid financial structure, it helps our clients, obviously, but for us, it gives you that ability to truly have freedom to do whatever it is that you want, but also work within your budget, but just understand where that money is supposed to go and how you get it there. So I'm gonna share my screen and we'll start the official class here.
Anyone can?
All right, so let's see if you can see. Here we are. All right. So our time today, I'm sure you guys have seen this, what makes a successful real estate agent. So what are the two things that a successful real estate agent does every day?
Lead generate.
Yep, lead gen.
Okay. Lead gen is within growing their business. So lead generate to grow their business. So we always grow our business, and next is we run the business. So every day there should be a focus on those two things, growing my business and running the business. Today, we're more focused on the running the business aspect. So running the business, now we're looking at the different techniques, right? We're looking at the habits that we want to build to have a financially sound business. When we go through a KW, what do we always learn? Models, systems, tools, right? And those model systems and tools, we're going to look to show how we should handle a commission check, how we should break that money down, what account we should put it in, how it should be lined up. Are we putting money away for taxes? We're going to do that to build a bright future, but to also make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so we can have that true financial freedom that we look for. So when you guys got your real estate license, you're going through the classes. And congratulations, you finally passed the test. But did you guys learn anything about how to handle the finances, your finances when you're studying?
Absolutely not. We didn't even learn how to do real estate.
No.
But you passed. That's what matters. So now that we're learning how to do real estate and we're learning the things that come along with it, this is the truth about this industry. And I have these conversations on a regular basis. To me, I view everyone on this call, I view everyone inside the market center as their own independent business. So the way my mind works, and literally before I walked in, I was asked this question, do I ever get tired of it? And I said, you know what's beautiful about my role and why it fits for me? I have over 300 businesses in my market center right now that I get to talk to on a regular basis. So I get to consult, get to pick, get to give strategies for them, and that excites me. I wake up every day with the thought process of how to value to someone. And what we're going through now and what KW looks at is we look at your business. We want you to understand that you have a business, but then know what to do with that business. So the fact that you can go through and be a licensed real estate agent, you can be anywhere in the world, have your license, but not understand the finance, not understand the business side of it, which means you could be closing deals, but you could also be putting yourself in a world of hurt or not setting yourself to be fundamentally free with what you're looking for, not achieving your goals. So if we look at it that way, we can build this sound business and then we can also fund the life that we want to live as well. So I said earlier, we're known for our models and systems and our tools, but instead of tools, let's just say technology. So within that technology, that's where you're going to find the tools to help you pursue your personal and financial goals. You know, we use the proven methods inside the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and we use it because it's smart. It's smart to have a sound business. Do you guys all have your participant guide that was emailed out to you?
I do not have one of those because I did not initially, sign up for Ignite. I came in after the class had already began.
All right, let me see if I can get one over to you. Does everybody else have their participant guide? All right, if you have your participant guide on page 3, would you mind reading for me why it's important to have these habits, or why it's important to have sound financial business habits?
You want us to just read the
Yep,
6 goals?
Yep, that should be the same 6 that you see inside your participant guide.
Okay. Set a profit goal that funds your big life and pursue the activities to achieve it.
Okay.
Establish, save for, and pay for your taxes on time. Use the proven models and systems of the MREA chart of accounts. Be fiscally savvy by reviewing your financial monthly. Pay yourself a salary. Prepare now for a financially secure future.
All right. And why do you think these things are important?
It helps us to sustain our business.
Awesome answer. Yes, sustain our business. You know, what I see a lot in a lot of conversations, you know, some of these things that we go through, and it's kind of hidden inside of it, but this phrase, revenue versus profit, I see a lot of people confuse those two. And revenue can be in term with income, right? But having a true understanding of what's the difference between your revenue, your income, and your profit. Having that understanding will make a huge difference in your business. And you're right. Well, let me ask this. Has anybody ever had, and you don't have to raise your hands, you don't have to verbally say it, but let me ask you this way. What happens if you have an issue with the IRS? Has anybody ever had to deal with the tax or debt collector? Yes. Is that any fun? you're in a business now where you get to control what you tell the government you make. But also you get a 1099. There is a reasonable understanding of money that comes in and out of your business. If your business is set up in a proper way, I'm always going to say check with your CPA. There are ways that you have tax advantages, but still you need to account for and pay taxes. And honestly, pay them on time. File an extension does nothing but kick the can down the road for you then to continue to pay, right? And then run into the next year that you're doing the same thing over and over again. And that cycle only gets worse and worse. Pay it on time makes things easier for you. Here's the biggest thing I'll say. And when I ask, what are we grateful for? This is one of the answers. You're not alone. You have resources. It's the same thing with the business that you have. You have tools and resources that are available to you to make sure that you're in the right financial position as well. You have agents who have done it wrong for years who are happy to tell you, don't do it this way. There's a better way to go about it so you don't follow their same path. Use your resources. Get a good understanding of it. A lot of people that we look at and we think that they have the wonderful business, we really think that just because they understand where their money comes in and where their money goes out. They're not winging it. If you have that understanding, it makes things better. And this one's interesting, and I debate people on it, but some people say, make a plan of this is how much you need to have a month, right? Do it. Set up a plan, set up a financial structure for you to understand this is what you need to hit to achieve. Now, that being said, we talk about our big why, and we know that there's a financial number that we're always striving, we're attaining for. I can use myself as an example. The very first time that I went, out on my own, no team, nothing else, just me. I was nervous, I was scared, I was worried. I was worried that I wasn't going to be good enough, that nobody would want to use me, that for whatever reason, I just don't have the knowledge, the aptitude, the skills to be successful. And that fear, let you know a secret, still carries with me to this day, right? It pushes me, it drives me forward, but it's something that it's always going to be there. But what helps put that fear away is knowing that I'm using the correct model systems and tools. But I also did something else. I knew one thing, that what does my life revolve around? What is the money situation that I need? And at that time, I built out my budget to $60,000. And I'm still not far from it, although I got two kids that might be $60,000 each on their own, taking care of them. It's a whole other story. But I built out everything from the mortgage, my car payment, student loans at the time. I even calculated gas. I did all these things, put a budget together and said, all right, if I can make $60,000 a year, I'm covered. And I did that because now, instead of me having to go through, this is the salary I need, once I go above that, now I can start to breathe a little easier. But having that plan made things easy for me to see, one, where my money was going when I was spending it. And now I have a better financial structure and plan. So I'm going to tell you, with each one that I kind of talked about, you do not want me to spend 5 hours covering each strategy. So we won't go through every single detail, but we're going to cover some of the fundamentals to make sure that your business is getting off to the right foot. So here's a question. And if you haven't noticed, I love asking questions. What is the purpose of having your business, or what's the purpose of running a business, or what's the purpose of a business in general?
Money.
Absolutely right. You are the winner. So not just money, but creating a profit, right? Money that we can go and do what we want to use with it. If you have money to do good for your family and community, that's what profit is. That's what you want to do. When you set your goals and you become keenly aware of how many transactions you need, right? If we think back to some of our other classes, we know X amount of transactions, give me X amount of commission. This will hit my financial goals. That's going to be that money that you use to fund your big life. That's the money that you use to do good. The business practices that you want to incorporate into your business from the start, if you do that with the very first transaction you close, you'll have that instilled with all the other transactions. That's going to give you the solid foundation for you to understand where that money's going, and also how to contribute to regrowing your business, to putting money back into yourself, and then betting on yourself to grow that for strong business, but then also making sure that you're increasing what you normally do. All right, so those who have the participant guide, I'm going to ask that we get somebody to read, because not everybody has it. In Sharon, I'm trying to get it over to you, but it doesn't look like it's going out right now. But we have two scenarios on page 4 of your participant guide. So these scenarios, they represent the transaction closed by a solo agent. So our solo agent for this example is Jessica Campbell. When she or where she closes on a home and what she does with her share of the commission, right? Her commission on it is $9,000. So is the $9,000 commission check that she receives, is that profit or is that revenue?
I would say revenue.
Why so?
I don't think that I don't feel like the entire check is profit, I'll say, because you have to invest back into the business. You have to put money aside for taxes and other expenses. And then whatever is left after all of your responsibilities are taken care of, then you could consider that profit.
Correct.
Well, that's
Correct.
how I see it.
No, you're absolutely correct, right? So that $9,000 commission check, you're absolutely right. It's revenue or income, right?
Mhm.
But your profit is different. Your profit is what's left over after you fund your business, right? After you put money aside from taxes, right? And then if you have your budget set up that way, it might be after your personal lifestyle as well. That's where your profit is. And the fact that you know that difference, Ron, that's going to work wonders for you. But you always have that understanding that, you know, in true disclosure, I've been in the situation where, you know, when I first moved to Maryland and first transitioned, so my business originally started in New Orleans. And then Katrina hit, I moved from New Orleans to Maryland. I came to Maryland knowing 2 people. So had no true network and was working, building my business up. And I did not realize how fast in Baltimore County, they will put an eviction notice on your door. I don't think I was nothing but a week late in rent, right? And this just shows you how times work. But yet I come home and I have the eviction notice, and I've been through stress, but that also put a level of stress on me that, all right, let's see how serious this is. And, you know, let me go talk to the people. And they're like, yeah, well, you're going to be put out in the next 2 weeks if we don't get the money.
Wow.
So now I have my deal that closes. And when you have rent due, it's hard not to think about that entire commission check. It's hard to think of it as revenue and not as, hey, this is profit that I need to use to fund my life. But the reality is, even in that situation, now I've always been a little nerdy, a little geeky. I'd use spreadsheets. I can tell you right now, if I switch tabs, you'll see 3 Excel spreadsheets open right now with different things I'm thinking about and running that have nothing to do with anything other than random thoughts in my head. But even in that scenario, when that check came, you know what happened? It was part of my budget. So I was able to put money in all the buckets that I had already set aside. And I was able to walk away with profit, but then make sure that that eviction notice was removed from my door and be able to go forward. You know, it's funny that I can talk about it now, but I will never forget my now wife going to my house before I got there and me not being able to go rip the eviction notice off beforehand. So yeah, I had more than one on the door. So I can tell you, don't worry, you can build a solid business. You might go through a little bumps, but don't worry, it's all just a part of the ride. All right. So we recognize that profit comes after you fund your business, you pay taxes, you fund your lifestyle. What do you use your profit for?
How about a Gucci belt?
I wasn't going to say that.
Building more business.
That's what I was going to say. I would put some aside for other investments to get some other things working for me.
You know what's beautiful about profit? If you've taken money out of that commission, you put money to fund your business, you paid your taxes, and then you also have a budget for your personal lifestyle. That profit covers everything that you guys just mentioned. That profit, they can go for whatever you want because you've already funded everything else. So you're on page 4 of the participant guide. Can somebody go to page 5 and I'll have you read page 5 out loud for me.
On page 5 is just the ahas.
So it's on my participant guide, it says on page 5, you should have a couple of different scenarios that are there.
I had that on page 4.
4, yeah.
Okay. It might be page 4 then. And page 4 is still talking about Jessica and her financial strategy?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right, I'll have you read those 2 scenarios for me.
Okay. The new agent Jessica earns a commission of $9,000, and after paying her broker, she receives a check in the amount of $57.60. She deposited it in her personal bank account to pay for the personal credit card debt and household expenses.
All right, and what's the second scenario?
She receives her check in the amount of $57.60, deposits it in her business bank account to cover business expenses. She pays herself a salary of $4,032, which goes into her personal bank account, then transfers 40% of her salary, or $1,613, from her personal account to her tax savings account. This leaves Jessica with $2,419 to pay household and living expenses.
Okay, so we have 2 scenarios, and that's what we see on the screen, right? The first commission comes in, right? Now the portion of that commission that she gets is a $57.60. It's in her account. She uses it as she pleases from there. The second scenario, she gets the commission check. She gets her portion of $57.60. She has her business bank account that she puts her money into. Then she puts a portion to her personal account. Personal account, she accounts for taxes, and then she has her freedom money that she can do whatever she wants. So which of these 2 scenarios is more financially sound?
Number 2.
Why?
Well, she went, in my opinion, she went about it a smarter way by putting it into a business account and then paying herself on that, because that's all of it can be written off by the business. That's all the salary that she's paying herself will be considered a business expense. So
I like it. Again, this is the check with your CPA portion, but think about what she did in the second scenario. She set aside a portion, right? And roughly there's a number that we'll use, we'll talk about in a moment, but she set aside a portion to pay her taxes, right? But then look at it also. When you run your own business, you're not paying taxes on every single penny of money that you bring into your business, right? You really look at these 2 scenarios. In the first scenario, she now has a 1099 that says she got $57.60 that she has to pay money out on. She didn't have any business expenses. She didn't write anything off. There's nothing there. In the second scenario, she set herself up where, one, she's putting money back into the business. The money she put back into her business, check with your CPA, she's not gonna pay taxes on that money. That's money being reinvested into her business. The money she put into her personal account, now she's paying a portion of taxes onto their personal account. And then she gets her freedom money that she can live and do whatever with. But if you're also looking at this, you're looking at 2 scenarios. On one scenario, she has 1 bank account. On the other scenario, she effectively is showing you that she has really 3 to 4. 1, the business account, 2, her personal account, 3, the tax account, and 4, if we want to call her personal wallet, we can call it the savings account, or that's still sitting inside of her personal account. So she at least has 3 on that side. See, one thing that they don't really tell you a lot when you're going through, and I can tell you, is nothing wrong with having multiple bank accounts. If you have multiple bank accounts, it will make things a lot easier for you, because then you will have a structure of where your money already is. If you have a tax account, guess what? At the end of the year, your taxes are ready to go out. Do not be afraid of having more than 1 account. You should have a business account. You should have a personal account. And I also advocate for having a tax account as well. See, this is the guidance of just looking at it. But that's scenario 1. I can tell you that me consulting real estate agents across the board, nobody really gets guidance towards it. So us coming fresh out of the, of real estate school, getting our licenses, that's pretty much the structure that we thought of. We get our check, we put it in our account, we figure out what to do with it next, versus having that structure of, no, my business just got a check. Now my business puts the money aside, and now I go forward. So in her financially sound business example, this is what we're aiming for with this class. for you to understand and embrace that model, right? That model that one puts money back into your business so you can grow it, right? We do two things every day, grow and run our business. We're running our business to put money back into it to grow it. We pay our taxes. At the end of the day, I don't want anybody to have a tax bill. I want you to understand that if you pay that up front, it's relatively easy. You can move forward and things become very simple and a huge burden of stress goes away. And last but not all, I want the freedom. Freedom comes from not worrying about taxes. Freedom comes from having that understanding that my money is going exactly where it should go. And we don't have to be experts. We don't have to be on CNBC teaching how to manage money, teaching stocks, teaching bonds. But even if we have it just set up in that simple way, money going to business, money going into your personal account, but your personal account having two, one for taxes, one for your own revenue. Just something that simple is a base and a foundation to have the solid principles to go forward with. Bear with me because on my Zoom, the chat box went away. So it does it every now and again. So if you put something to the chat, just bear with me. I'll come back to it in a moment. So building on the financially sound business example we just reviewed, I want to share what you're going to find inside the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Inside this book is a principle that you may hear me scream out to people or we talked about, or when there's a different scenario, I will say the phrase 30, 30, 40. And what 30, 30, 40 represents is if we take 100% of your gross commission income, then it should be broken down in a way that's called 30, 30, 40. 30% of that gross commission income should be going towards your operating expenses of your business. Another 30% of that income, gross revenue or gross commission income, should be going towards your cost to sell items. And last but not least, 40% of that gross commission income would then go to profit. And you know what's interesting about that model is real estate has crazy, and I mean crazy profit attached to it. This is one of the few industries where you literally can run at a 40% profit margin. It's almost unheard of. If we think about our other industries and hospitality, a room rate, you're looking at, if there's not a large event going there, based on salaries, overhead, cost of the hotel, you're talking 10 to 15% profit. And honestly, just from that profit margin, I can tell you that I got a huge claim to fame by just increasing profitability and it really was 5% at the end of the day, but it looked like 10% just based upon I recognize an accounting flaw that they had. I was being flown to Germany to help hotels international because I recognized that, hey, if you adjust this will increase your profitability and your clients won't have to pay anything additional. That's just a 10% margin. You look at with real estate, you got the opportunity to have see if I can grab my mouse again. Boom, 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 boom. You have the opportunity to have a net income profit 40%. That is absolutely huge and unheard of. So this is the benefit of what we get. So look at an example of what the 30, 30, 40 model means. If you get a commission check, $10,000, you have the Millionaire Real Estate Agent bookmark this page, 157, it explains this. You take your gross commission income, cost of sale. Does anybody have an idea of what a cost of sale item is inside of your real estate business?
Cost of sales.
All right, let me rephrase. Do we know the difference between cost of sale and operating expense? So your operating expense will start there. It's the easiest to explain. As an individual real estate agent, you're probably going to have very low operating expenses. This is your overhead. So depending on the market center you're in, you're going to look at operating expenses, your monthly fees, your monthly dues, right? Whether you close a real estate transaction or not, you know that monthly fee is going to be due. If you bought signs, operating expense. If you are paying for leads every single month, operating expense. You're paying for that, whether you close anything from it or not, it's a cost of sale, or excuse me, it's operating expense that goes out. Your cost of sell, however, is different. Your cost of sale is because you have business, because this business closed, there was a cost attached to it. So if you have a real estate deal that closed and you have a split that's paid to your market center, that split that's paid to the market center is only due because you closed, that's a cost of sale item.
Mm.
Start and get granular with some things like closing gifts, right? When you first start, your closing gift is probably going to be a cost of sale item. Why? You don't close, you're not buying random closing gifts for nobody, right? Unless you like buying gifts, that's a whole nother story. But this is where your business starts to shift and understanding what these numbers come in. Now, I look at closing costs or closing gifts as operating expense. If I know that the team that I'm working with is going to close 175 transactions given every single year, well, then I already know that we can buy closing gifts throughout the year. So every quarter, we could be buying 75 closing gifts. All right. And now I turn that into an operating expense so I can fund my business that way. You can get granular with it that way, but that just gives you an idea of your cost of sale. It only becomes an expense because you had business that closed. Operating expense, whether you close something or not, you're going to have those expenses come out. So if you subtract out your cost of sale, we keep it at 30% from a $10,000 commission, that's $3,000. Your operating expense, if we can keep that around 30%, that's another $3,000. That means your profit is $4,000. We think about the model that we had before, that $4,000. Well, remember, she put money aside for her business. This is showing you the money that she puts aside for her business before she takes her profit out.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
So when we say the 30% for operating expenses and 30% for the cost of sale, what if that $3,000 is pretty much just, well, that 30% is the maximum? I'm asking this question because what if your operating expenses are not, $3,000? Is there something that we should be tweaking so that it is exactly that 30%?
That is a phenomenal question. And the reason why that's such a good question is because you are 100% right in your assumption. And that is, as an individual agent right now, you're probably not going to have 30% expenses, right? That is a larger number. And having that understanding that, hey, as you grow your business, that's where those operating expenses come in. So if you're being functional from day one and you're setting aside 30% of the gross commission income that you receive, by setting that aside, boom, now you can start to say, all right, now I have money set aside for me to do whatever I want to do with my business. Whether I want to buy leads, whether I want to brand my car, whether I want to do any random thing that you want to do that is a true business expense. If you set that aside, you can go forward with it. Here's where the challenge is. And this is the challenge that a lot of real estate agents run into. And it comes later on down the line when you start to grow and you hit your next level. You're going to be the most profitable in this business as an individual agent.
Mm.
You'll be the most profitable as an individual agent. You're going to have the least amount of time, the least amount of freedom, and the largest headaches as an individual agent. So you're going to want to get leverage, right? And typically when we talk about leverage, leverage comes in the form of one of two things, a system or a person. If you have a system, that means you're putting more money out for that system. If you hire a person, well, there's a salary attached to that also. If you're not used to putting money aside, right? And you're not used to putting, let's say 20% aside, not even that, your operating expenses are super low. Where does that money come out? What you're going to think about, you're immediately going to say, now I'm making less money because I've hired somebody else. That's the biggest challenge that most people run into inside of real estate business. Because when you don't think about it as a business from day one, only thing you see is, oh, I'm running a 90% profit margin. Well, no business is sustainable at that. Right? You eventually are going to have expenses that come out. You want to be prepared for it up front to say, all right, I know this money is going to come out. So a question from the chat is, how do taxes factor in? So as an individual real estate agent, what you're going to see, your taxes are going to be more coming off of your profit line than anywhere else, because your taxes, one, your cost of sale item, that is still upfront money that you can say, hey, cost of sale, that is money that had to go out. That's money reinvested to the business. Operating expenses, money reinvested into your business. True profit, true income that you can claim taxes on, that's what you can do off your profit when your business for sale. Check with your CPA, because if you have any other income coming in, that answer may vary. but typically you won't have to worry about your taxes until you get to what you're taking out as your profit. And just like we saw in the example before, so in Jessica's, her personal bank account, that's her 40% that went into her bank account. And now you can see she set aside some of that money to go towards her taxes. So that's the way that you would view that. That's the way that you would operate with your taxes. But this is how you invest back into your business to ensure that you're not paying taxes on money that you don't need to, but you're accounting for it.
No. Doing no.
Great questions. Great questions. That's what I think about, and that's what I see, and that's what I actually end up coaching to on a regular basis. So very good questions.
Can I ask if, do you need to have a separate business account under an LLC, or is that something you check with your accountant about too? Or can it just be a separate account that they could see that your gross commission was going into, and then you dispensed it?
So officially check with your accountant, but there's two different things that you have. If your business is just a sole proprietor,
Mm-hmm.
then your bank account may not be set up as an LLC, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could just have separate checking accounts. At the end of the day, it's for you to understand where your money is going.
Gotcha.
Now, if you have an S corp, if you have your LLCs, that's a different story, and the money needs to be handled accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, at the end of the day, it's just about you understanding where your money is and where it goes. The worst thing that could possibly happen is, and I got stories to tell, but having money mixed up, and now having, your spouse go through and spend money that she was not supposed to ever see or touch because that was our tax money. And now all of a sudden we're worried because now we get hit with, a 5-figure tax bill because she thought we had free money to go, or that was the money for the kids, when no, reality, that was the money for our taxes. Not speaking from personal experience, but yeah, just have it set up in a way that you can understand what money is supposed to go where, and that you don't have the freedom and ability to touch it at a whim, is the best way to say that. All right, so I've given you the percentage, right? And the percentage, if you're wondering inside the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that's in the economic model. Economic model is one of my favorite models just because it breaks some things down for us. What it teaches you is the regular flow of money, right? We talked about it earlier. What's the purpose of having a business? Let's be more poignant. What's the point of having a real estate business?
Make money.
Profit. So the formula that's commonly used to calculate, right? And Sharon, you mentioned this earlier, is, your gross commission comes in, then you have your expenses that come out, and that leaves you with your profit. Well, we went through that 30-30-40 model, and this is kind of just flipping this model on its head just a little bit, right? And it's really the same exact things, but just put into reverse. So when we say put into reverse, we just flip it over. So we flip it over because we want to think about a few things. One, how much money do you want in your bank at the end of the year? Inside of your account, your personal account that you can spend, how much money do you want at the end of the year? You can write it down and have that as your goal. We should have went through this in earlier classes. You're breaking down your goals, but based upon how much money you want in your bank at the end of the year, how many homes do you need to sell to achieve your profit goal? And last but not least, how can you maximize, or better yet, how can you minimize your expenses so that you can maximize your profit or your net income? So if we think about those three questions, how much money do I want in my bank account? How many homes do I need to sell? How do I minimize my expenses? If we look inside of this flipped, the inverted flow of money, well, guess what we get to see? Well, first thing is the profit. What's your goal? How much do you want in the bank at the end of the year? What was it? The last question I asked, how do you minimize your expenses? We see that with our expense category, right? So we can set a goal of how do we minimize those expenses. Guess what ends up happening? You get our net income that we need, but then you also get an understanding from the net income of how many homes you need to sell. How do you correlate that conversation of how many homes you need to sell to your net income? What formula or what calculation will we want to do? So it's operated this way. You should know, if you don't have an idea, you can ask your market center just what the market center's average commission is. And then just simply take that average commission, which is your gross commission income, multiply that out by the total number of homes needed, right? Or you could take whatever the financial goal that you have that you need to receive, divided by that gross commission income, and that'll tell you the number of homes that you need to sell. We'll run through an example here in just a moment, but that gives you that idea, and it's really just using this inverted chart that we have. So with our business, it's on the screen, so you have you can cheat a little bit. With a real estate business, where can your income come from? It's only a few sources. What would those sources be?
Listing, sales, referral, leasing.
Absolutely, right? So this is what income is going to come in and what's going to go into your business. So we talked about your cost of selling items earlier. So what goes out is the cost of sale. Now, understanding that cost of sale, this is where you can probably have things that are completely set and won't change from year to year. In our case, your cost of sale items traditionally are just going to be the company dollar that you pay to the market center on your splits, right, to get to your cap, your royalty that you're paying to KW, and then any referral fees that you'll have on any business. So if you're getting leads from a market center, or if you're getting leads from a referral source, and you know that there's a split paid for that, that's a cost of sell item that you would have. If you don't know and you are inside of your Keller Williams office, make sure that tomorrow you have a true understanding of what your market center cap number is. Knowing that cap number, that lets you know what your cost of sell item is. So I'll use ours as an example. Our cap, $23,000 for the individual agent. The royalty with everybody at KW is $3,000. So the cost to sell, the minimum cost to sell that an agent in our market center would have would be $26,000 for the entire year. Again, cost to sell items only apply if business closes. So if the agent doesn't close anything, guess what? They don't have to pay that entire amount. But they know that based upon how that split's set up, with most KWs, your split's going to be somewhere in the nature of, you know, some of our larger teams who, you know, close really 10 million and up. Some of them have splits of 10% and then going all the way down to 30% to the market center, right? Cost of sell items on each transaction, you can run your budget from that. That part, that company dollar that you have, is not the only expense that you run into with your business. Remember that. While we're setting our budget, while that probably will be, as you start off in your business, the most expensive one that you have, again, it only applies when you close business. So you're going to be happy to have cost of sell expenses, but also know you have operating expenses. Guess what constitutes operating expense? If you're buying paper for your business, if you're buying folders, right? If you are a person who operates with a second cell phone, all those are going to be expenses that you have inside of your business. So you have to be prepared for those and recognize that they're going to be there. But we're going to dig into the cost of sell a little bit, just to kind of run a slide so you can see it. So we're going to do a quick exercise. All right, it says page 9 on my participant guide. It might be page 8 on yours. But if you have a calculator beside you, you want to use it. You want to use pen and paper. If you can use your smartphone, use it. You'll need it for the activity. So we're going to run through some numbers a little bit. So at the top of that page, you're going to see 3 formulas. All right, these formulas, they represent your net commission based on whether you've capped, whether you haven't capped, on your company dollar, your royalty, or both. So for this example, we're going to assume that the agent's on a 70-30 split to the market center, meaning that out of their gross commission income, 30% of that gross commission income will be paid to the market center in the form of company dollar. Along with that, 6% is going to be based on the gross commission income that goes into the royalty dollars paid to Keller Williams International. So for these 3 formulas that we're going to go through, what we're going to take, we're going to do our gross commission income. We're going to multiply it by 30%. That's what's going to be paid to the market center. Then we're going to take that gross commission income. We're going to multiply it by 6%. That's going to be paid to Keller Williams International for the royalty. And that's going to leave us with our net commission income, right? So the three scenarios that you see here, shows you one, gross commission income minus the company dollar minus your royalty. Your gross commission income minus your royalty, giving you net commission. And then after you capped, you paid both off. Then it's going to give you the total amount that you need with your company dollars. So let's run a scenario. We'll use an easy figure. And that figure, let's say, is $10,000 commission check. So the $10,000 commission check that we receive, we're going to do the first part. We're going to multiply it out by 30%, right? Why are we using 30%? That's the cost of sale. That's the split that you have to your market center. So somebody who's doing math along with us, what is that number? How much is paid to the market center?
That's $3,000, right?
Yep, 3,000. All right. So now we're going to take that same company dollar or the same commission check, $10,000. What is 6% of the 10,000?
6% of 10,000 is 6,000.
600.
10,000, 600, right?
600.
All right. So we start in Formula One. You guys see, I'm gonna try to get the laser pointer back up, see if it works. I don't know if it's working or not. Laser pointer is not working. All right. Oh. All right, here we go. So in the first box, 10,000 minus the 3,000 for the company dollar. Then we're going to minus out the $600 for the royalty fee. What does that leave us with? So 10,000 minus 3,600.
6,400.
Perfect, right? So that's 6,400. That's your net commission. That's what you're taking. It's not just your profit that we looked at on the previous screen. That's what you're going to take, and now that's what you're going to look at. You still got to take your expenses out from that because your operating expenses hasn't came out. Just your cost of sale has. Once you've capped to the market center, so you've paid, and in our situation, the agent has paid their 30,000 or 23,000. Sorry. Then they're going to take their gross commission income, which would be $10,000. They're going to subtract out the royalty, which is 6%. So we did that number earlier, which was 600. So now 10,000 minus 600 gives you how much in commission that you are taking home?
9,400.
Exactly. Now, once you cap, so you hit your royalty number. So you paid 3,000 into Keller Williams International, whatever your cap is to the market center has been paid. Now you get your commission check. What comes out of it?
10,000.
You take 10,000 home. So from our standpoint, we're coaching you, we're driving your business to make sure that you're capping. It is a strong goal. And from every market center, we want you to get to that number as quickly as possible, because the faster you get to that number, the more you are living your big life, the more you are funding your big why. All right. All right. So we covered that, but before we move forward, are there any questions on calculating the cost of sale and what that actually looks like? No? All right. Well, let's run it through. All right. Let's say this is our first deal. Our first deal that we close. We have a commission check of $7,500. 70-30 split. How much is coming out in the 30%?
$22,500.
All right. And how much is coming out from the 6%?
450.
All right. So how much are you walking away with from the $7,500 commission check?
$4,800.
You got it. You got it. All right. Are there any ahas or anything that anybody recognized, learned, or realized from going through the cost of sale exercise, or any questions about cost of sale? All right. Well, let's plot what we need to do to go through with our big future, our big why, right? Our plan for our future. So let's walk through the same way we just did to give an example of what our net profit goals should be. So using this scenario, I'm going to, and I've already pre-populated these numbers in, but I pre-populated based upon what some of the most common conversations are that I have, right? And one of the most common is I want to make 6 figures in real estate. So we have a net profit goal of, $100,000, walking away, having that in the bank once we finish. In page 10 or page 9 of your activity guide, you should see the same example going forward. So the first thing we're going to write down for our net profit goal, we're going to write down a goal of $100,000. Now, the next thing we want to do is we need to calculate, what is the gross profit goal that we need to account for, one, the tax liability. So the recommended number, check with your tax advisor, but I'm going to tell you 40%. 40% isn't egregious and it's a large number. But you know what 40% does? 40% ensures that you have enough money to pay your taxes. It lets you live stress-free without it. And you might actually get a little bit of a refund and have money that you can actually spend afterwards. So 40%. So to do that, all we're going to do is divide our net profit goal, which is 100,000. We're going to divide that by 60%. That'll let us know how much we need to make. So 166,000 is that target. I'm sorry, we're going to go by 40%, then we're going to divide this by 60%. So if we divide this by 60%, the 166,000, this should give us what we need to do as far as a gross commission income. So dividing the 166 by 40%, it should give you a target number of 416,000.
665.
Yep. There you go. Sorry, I like to kind of calculate along in my head as I go through, make sure I'm staying sharp. So bear with me. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, don't judge me. All right. So now that we have it listed, the next thing we need to do is take a look at, where we need to be from a home sale standpoint. So I use that example of $7,500. So all we need to do is the same thing I said earlier. We take what the average commission is divided by the total amount that we need to earn. We divide that together. It's going to tell us how many homes that we need to sell. So if 416,000 gross commission income is the target, how many homes is 7,500 that we need to sell? It should be 56 or 55 and some change. There you go, 56. Perfect. So using my market center, we're going to look at our royalty in the cap, right? If that's 23,000. So now I have that together. So I understand that number. So now our operating expenses that we have. So now we got to multiply our GCI, right? So that gross commission income, which is the 416,000, we're going to multiply that by 30%. We multiply it by 30%, that should give us roughly 125,000. So 125,000 is the cost of sales. So now we've actually inverted these numbers. So if we go back and we look at it, all we're looking at, well, for us to get our goal, and let's use, sorry. Oops. Where's my slide? If we use this slide, right, to have an idea of the income that comes in, the expenses that goes out, and the profit, right, that's left. So it's really just a matter of, all right, let's take it from the end. We have $416,000. That's the income, the revenue that came into our business. What expenses did we have that came out? The 23,000. All right, that was that. Then we had our operating expenses, the 125,000 that came out. We also set aside money for taxes that were coming out of our business as well. When we look at what we've reinvested into our business, the gross commission income, the money we set aside for taxes and operating our business, then we actually have that net profit goal that we walk away, that we keep, of $100,000. I know it's numbers. It drove me crazy looking at it, but this gives us an idea. So for what we need to go through, does everybody have an idea of what their market center's average commission is?
Yes.
Okay. So let's run your numbers backwards. Take a few minutes to go through. First number that I want you to start off with is simply writing in, what is the net income goal, the net profit? What do you want to have in the bank at the end of the year? What is that number? We take that number and then we're going to divide it by 60%. And when we divide that number by 60%, that should give you what your gross profit goal should be, right? The money that you want to walk away with, that you have covered for your taxes, and that you can do whatever with. We're going to take that number, we're going to divide it by 40%. All right, so now we're looking at a number. So somebody share with me what their gross commission income goal is.
I
For my
said
first year, go ahead.
I just said 50,000.
Okay. So 50,000, that's your net profit goal that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with 50,000, if we walk that through backwards. One second.
I got 83 and then 208,000.
Okay. So now you have a gross commission income goal of 208,000, right?
Uh-huh.
So now at 208,000, so I can tell you your average market center commission is, well, actually, I'll pull it up from last month. I think we dropped down last month. I think we were at 9,200 last month. So use the average commission number of $9,200 and then divide that out of your 208,000. 9,200.
Divided, okay. 200. So 22.6 houses I'd have to sell.
Yep, we're gonna round up to 23 because I've never sold a 0.6 of a house. All right, all right. So now that we have that number, the anticipated cost of sale. So your anticipated cost of sale that you're gonna have is roughly, for you, $26,000, right? The 23 for the individual, and then 3,000 that goes to the royalty.
Uh-huh.
Use my computer calculator because my phone is acting up right now.
Cost of sale. And then multiply by 30%.
All right, so we know that figure. But now we're going to take your 208,000, your gross commission income.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to multiply it by 30%.
62,499.
All right. So that's the operating expense budget that you have. Now, here's the question, and this goes back to Sharon. You asked a question earlier of, should I be setting money aside for my expenses? In your first year of real estate, can you think of where you would spend $62,000 reinvested back into your business this year? It's going to be tough, right? You won't know enough to know where that money should be going or where it should be. But this is why I say this is the challenge that we're going to run into in this industry, is because you're going to be able to make a healthy amount of money and you won't have the expenses to spend money on. So if we look at your expense total that you're running into, right, 208,000 times the 30%, that's 62,000. your expenses in the first year, I've seen agents in their first year, their expenses were no more than, just their board fees and what they had to pay.
Mhm.
So if your expenses are only going to be, let's say, $5,000 for that year, then what does that mean for that other $60,000? Where is that going right now? That's basically going to be all profit for you. In your first year, you're going to put that money wherever you need to put that money to use. But this is where, I kind of coach and I challenge to it is you got to be prepared to know that you're going to have the freedom to do whatever you want with that money right now if those expenses aren't there. And I'm not telling you to take that full $62,000, throw it into that business account and let it sit there and not use it. You should be reinvesting into your business. But what you also should be doing is recognizing that, hey, as my business continues to grow, I am not going to walk away with as much profit because I need to make sure that I have expenses that I'm covering and I'm investing back into my business. You may hire a personal coach that might be $1,000 a month. You may end up hiring a showing assistant. If you hire that showing assistant, you may pay them on a per showing basis. You may pay them a monthly fee. If you use the transaction management company that we have, you're going to pay a fee per each deal, but you might choose to pay the $250 a month and have unlimited contracts written for you. That would be an operating expense. So you're going to have expenses that start to come along the way. In that first year, as you have that money, what you want to do is make sure that you've allocated it, you set a budget for it, and what is going to end up happening, right before COVID hit, and I'm really about to go off on a random tangent, so I apologize, but it's who I am. There was a report that came out. This is actually, I'll shorten my tangent, but the report that came out that alerted me that something was about to take place. It talked about how much money all your FANG stocks, Google, Facebook, Apple, how much money they were sitting on. GM was sitting on a ton of money. And they were basically sitting on like $2 billion worth of cash, which is an absurd amount of money for a business to sit on, especially in those industries, because they're in industries where they reinvest so heavily in their business to continue to grow. So the fact that they were sitting on that much money was just crazy. But think about the business that in this report, you have to go back to 2018. You can start to see, if you literally Google $2 billion company, or Google sitting on, no, 200 billion, I'm sorry. They were sitting on that much money and nobody can understand why. It didn't make sense because from a business standpoint, you're reinvesting into your business to grow. Think about our profit margins. Our profit margins that we have in this business are crazy compared to others, right? We're in a business where 40% profit. So just looking at the scenario that we just ran through, right? And same thing, we looked at you, we're not gonna have $62,000 worth of expenses. You're probably gonna have 5 or 6,000 in that mode. So you're gonna have a lot more money that is actually sitting inside of the profit side up front. Well, it's gonna put you in the same situation that those companies were, where they were sitting on that money. And this is where you have to think about what you're doing with it, set it aside for a reason. Well, they were already preparing for something major to happen in the world, right? COVID ended up happening, notice that they didn't lose any money because they were sitting on stockpiles of cash. People who sat on stockpiles of cash, they were able to do different things during the pandemic. But that's part of it. If you're setting that money aside and you know something is coming up or it's going to be used for something, you're making a smart financial decision to prepare for the next step or whatever else it is that you need to go through and do. I know it's not the fun part. I know it is a lot easier to take that money and go spend it, do whatever you want. But trust me, please break it down. Use this model as close to it as possible. You're going to find that if you do that, you're going to have a lot of money that you are putting aside inside of the bank, but you will be living a much healthier, much happier life that is allowing you to live the lifestyle you want to live. All right, so I'll go off on my Facebook tangent. It was random when I saw it, but it meant a lot to me because it was just so crazy to see businesses stockpiling so much cash. So now let's talk about our best practices. What do we need to do? We know where we want to be, right? Now we need to talk about how we get there.
Don't do that.
So page 11 or page 10 on the participant guide, I'm not sure which one you guys have, seems that page off. But there's a checklist, right? And this short checklist, this gives you the best practices. Now, I'm going to tell you this is by no means the exhaustive list of what you should go through, but this gives you the base foundation. Remember, as long as you have a base foundation, it gives you an idea of where you should go. even in here in the base foundation of 30, 30, 40, it gives you an idea of money that you're setting aside, money that you're reinvesting into your business, and money that you can run away free with. And think about that, even in that example I gave you, if you're not setting aside the full 40, or you're setting aside more than 40%, you got a profit margin that's 80% right now. Well, if you take and you use 40% to do what you need, you got another 40 that's sitting there that you can reinvest later on. It's just a sound fundamental practice to go through, right? We just want to ensure that you have a good financial well-being. Now, you go through this checklist. You may be able to check off the first item on the list, given your experience, right? Or what you've gone through so far in Ignite with goal setting. Even in today's brief class, right? We went through a short goal exercise. You might be able to check off the first two, right? Set a personal budget, a financial budget, and have an understanding. But you got to go through this list, and you got to briefly be able to talk about the importance of each item, right? So, question was asked earlier, do we put things inside of our business name? I suggest having a business entity. If you're reinvesting in that business and money's going into that business, that is going to be a tax shelter for you. But it also makes it really easy to reinvest in your business if you are taking money and you're putting it into, BAM Impact Financial. It makes a difference, right? It actually, you see your money going into that business account. So you don't technically have to have it, but I do suggest you have a business account because it makes a difference. You have that business entity set up, you treat it as a business, you put money into it as a business. I say it all the time, open additional bank accounts for taxes, right? Make things easy on yourself. At one point in time, and I'm probably dating myself, but I had to go through, and this was in elementary school. I had to learn how to balance a checkbook in elementary school. I had to understand the finances, where money was coming in and coming out. And if I had an account that was specific for one thing, that was one thing I learned as a child, that it makes life a lot easier. Have multiple accounts, set it up. Don't be afraid of doing it. That gives you the freedom to be able to say, I can spend every dime that's in this account because it's not touching my business, not touching my finances, not touching my investment properties. Inside the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you have examples of a budget. You have examples of the 30-30-40 model. You have examples of how to structure finances to pay your associates, your admins, what numbers should look like, how much you should be paying. School that I went to, it was in Kansas City, Missouri. So I learned that one at Union Chapel. And then in college, I was at Southern University, which gives a whole nother meaning to finances. But yeah, it was cool that I learned about it. I can tell you my kids haven't learned about it, but balancing that checkbook was awesome and fundamental to even just understanding how finances work today. The next part that we go through. All right, accounting software. QuickBooks, relatively simple. I'm not going to tell you that you need to use QuickBooks. I'm not going to tell you that you need to use any other crazy accounting software. I did most of my accounting, most of the things that I went through literally on an Excel spreadsheet. Well, first, honestly, I did it in a checkbook. Then I used an Excel spreadsheet. Now I use, QuickBooks because I have different business entities. My wife, we started her physical therapy practice. So we have money coming in from different sources, and that simplifies everything. But use something that speaks to you. Don't go out and just spend random money on anything. Get an understanding of where your money is coming in, where your money is going out. Even if it's on old school pencil and paper, if you have it, you understand it. Then when you choose to spend money on buying QuickBooks or something else, it will make more sense. You will have a better understanding of it, and it'll work better. As smart as I think I am, one of the best decisions I ever made was I started going to an accountant and a CPA to do some things for me. They made life a whole lot easier. I didn't have to worry about my taxes. They took care of it for me, and they got me more money, and I paid less in taxes than I ever thought I would. Utilize your resources. We talk about leads, leverage listings. Your attorneys, your CPAs, the accountants, they are going to be leverage for you. Take advantage. Ask around. There are plenty of accountants who work with agents in our market center and attorneys who are happy to work with agents because they want to help you drive more income and more revenue. Why? Because then in turn, they can charge you a little bit more. So they will help you become more profitable because that's something that's beneficial to them. And I talked about it earlier. pay things on time. Right? I was being facetious. Well, I wouldn't be facetious. It was real life. My original thought process with money, yes, I could calculate, yes, I could put the numbers together to know how much money I have. But I was always willy-nilly with it just because as long as I had enough to cover all my debts each month, I'm good to go. Now that money could come in on Monday, it could come in on Friday, it could come in at the end of the month. But as long as I know I had enough coming in that month, I was good to go. I did not enjoy having my now wife see the eviction notice on my door. Paying things on time, having a set schedule made things a lot easier. It took a lot of stress away. So you put schedules, you set dates, you pay things on time, you will take a lot of your burdens away. Trust me, you're in a situation where you can make the money necessary, but do the things that you need to do. Going back to the accountant and the CPA, earlier today, we talked about different lead generation sources. Well, you want to know 2 great lead generation sources? If a person has an accountant, they can almost guarantee that they have a job. I can almost guarantee that they have a good job. I can also probably guarantee that they have a home and they either are going to buy or sell another home at some point in time. Guess what attorneys deal with? You have attorneys who deal with divorce. If you have a proper divorce attorney, you might end up with 4 transactions out of it. Why 4? 1, you may have bought or at least 3, but they're going to sell the house that they own, and then the husband and wife might end up buying their own new house. That's 3 transactions that you get out of it, let alone the agents or the buyers on the other side that you might be able to cultivate into the next deal. But attorneys are a great source, right? So think about it from that standpoint. Anything that you do, business can come out of it. And last but not least, prepare for your future. Insurance, investments, right? So we talked about financial stability and possibly buying investment properties. You know, when I was literally living check to check, I never thought about having investments, didn't even understand where people got the money to have it. But it was just something that was really simple that was said to me. It was like, well, just put a couple dollars away. Yeah, I know it's simple savings, but not just away for that. But now, if you're putting this money away, but you look at it as an investment, how is this money going to give things back to you? That simple thought process of, if I'm putting aside a couple $100s each month, what could I spend with this couple $100 that's going to make money back for me? And now next thing you know, that I'm having conversations with other people and now investments start to come in. Little things that we go through. So those are different things and the best practices that we can use that help inside of our business and help go forward. So we're coming to an end. You know, it was literally just some hardcore basics to go through. Covered a little bit of the flow of money, where money's coming in, where money's going out, what we should account for, how to look at the revenue that we receive as not just revenue, but funds to invest back into our business, cover our cost of sales, and then we're able to use to fund whatever we want, whether it's the Gucci belt or buying a new property. So as we wrap up, we start coming to an end. What questions do we have, or what are some of the things that we've taken away from the class today?
I have a lot of work to do. Literally, like, no, I have a lot of work to do. That's the only comment that I can say right at this time.
That's what I just said. I need to get on my game.
I love that profit and revenue in the chat. That's huge to me. Just that understanding of profit and revenue makes a big difference. That's where it starts. If you understand that your revenue has expenses that'll come out, it'll get you thinking about your expenses to know, all right, let me be prepared to handle my finances in the proper way. Very good. And I'll say this. You have a lot of work to do. I kind of kept today's class really simple and really didn't go crazy into numbers, taxes, and things of that nature for one reason. It seems like a lot, but really it's, if you break it down into simple categories, you don't have as much to take care of as you think. You understand profit and revenue. If you have a goal in mind that you want to achieve and get to, Now we can work towards that goal, but now we know that as we're working towards that goal, just that simple thought process of how much should I be putting back into my business? Well, there's a model for it. Find out where could you invest? What could you put money into right now? But let's be smart with it. Just because the numbers say that most millionaire real estate is putting 30% back into their business, well, you really want to know what that 30% looks like. If you go inside the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that 30% is broken down in a multitude of ways, from salaries to leads to marketing to auto expenses, different things that they have that you can break down. And we look inside the budget model, it'll show you where that money's going. You don't have to be that detailed, but you just have to know that some of the money that you're bringing in, that you're getting from that revenue, you need to invest back into your business. Some of the money that you get, one, goes to the market center, but now that you're setting aside, you've already paid for your business. Some of this money has to go towards taxes. Just take some of the money and hold off towards taxes. Really simply, organize your money in a way that you don't have to think. As I've learned, and I've been in the business world more and more, I love to think, but I think so much that I need things to make my thought process easier. So if I don't have to think about how much money I need to pay in tax at the end of the year, it's already set aside, great. If I put it aside too much, perfectly fine. If I put aside too little, guess what? I bet it's not a huge bill. It's probably just a small amount that, okay, let me figure out where I was off. When I'm thinking about, okay, somebody just came to me with a great proposition for, they want to partner with me on doing, well, randomness, but I got an investment project in Lafayette, Louisiana. And this project is a couple $1 million, but doesn't make sense. Well, how much money do I have to invest? You know what? I don't got a couple $1 million set aside. I may not even have the down payment or be willing to put the money down for the down payment to finance it all. But now I can say, you know what? I do have money set aside that I've been holding off to reinvest inside my business. So now I got a portion that I'm willing to put into it. What does this look like? How can we build a relationship, or what does our partnership look like from there? But it's just small, just having that understanding that money is going to go, you need to set it aside for something, don't spend it all. That's the starting point. So things that you should take away. All right. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I'm wrapping this up because this is where you should start to go through. If we want to start doing work inside the business, this is where you jump in. For you to have this financial conversation, what is the first thing that you need to be able to start operating on that finance side?
Probably knowing how much you want to make a year.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that is great, but once we know that info, we have to have revenue to get there, right? We could have all the budgets, all the plans in place that we want, but we have to have revenue for that goal to start taking place. So for revenue to start coming in, there are little things that we want to jump in and do. 2 things that you do inside your real estate business every day. You grow it, you run it. We talked about running it. Now we want to make sure that you're going through and growing. Think about the course of the day. Did you come across 10 people today that you talked to? In the randomness of those 10 people that you talk to, how many of those people know that you're a real estate agent? I break it down this simple. They know you, they like you, they know what you do, they'll use you. So the course of people that you contacted, you came across today, how many know you? How many know what you do? They don't have to like you up front, but if they know you and they know what you do, you can get to like them. Debbie talked about it earlier. You get to build relationships. You can build the relationship that'll get you there. I love value. What you see on the screen is different things. You have 10 conversations, 10 handwritten notes. What value, what spark can you provide to somebody's day? Something little like that will keep you fresh in someone's mind. So when they're thinking about referring the next person, they're always thinking about referring you. Something that helped me in my business was I actually stopped thinking about each person that I met as my next potential deal. And I thought about that person as, this is the next person that's going to refer me to somebody else. It took pressure off, number one, because I didn't have to think about it as, ooh, I have to talk to this person, because if I don't talk to them, then I'm not going to get something done. I'm not going to get a deal closed. And then it actually let me have a genuine conversation with them of, hey, who should I be talking to? Who can I help? Who do you know that I should be talking to? You know, I had a conversation earlier this week, and this is exactly what I said to the young lady. I called her on a solicitation call, right? And I was soliciting to have her switch brokerages to come to ours. And I told her in the very first part of the conversation, I'm going to let you know what my intent is in the first few seconds of this phone call. My intent right now is to provide value to everybody I come across. Now, I know you hear that in multiple different ways, but what that means for me is I need to build up my portfolio to say I've been able to help X amount of people, right? And I don't know what that number is yet, but I know that I need to add more people to my portfolio to say that I've been able to increase their sales and their revenue. Now, I'm willing to do that for free because that is going to get me to my larger goal, which is putting me on certain stages that I need to be on. And I'm willing to sit down and talk with you to see, can you match the profile of the agent that I need to help grow their business? Now, that's my selfish intention, but here's the value you get out of it. Your business is going to grow from sitting down with me. If you're ready for your business to grow, let's pick a day, pick a time. It can be 15 minutes, it can be an hour, but let's figure out how your business is going right now and what I could possibly do to help your business. And if those two things align, I think we're going to have a relationship that can go very far. My intention was given in the first few moments of that phone call. We ended up talking for an hour and talked through a few things, but now there's a note that she's getting, but it's me providing value, right? And me having that conversation where I know what my goal is. There's a stage I want to be on because that's going to help a few other people out. If I can get to that stage, then we're there. She has no problem helping me help other people. And that's where the focus comes in. In addition to growing your business, you guys have Bright Access, you guys have MLS Access. Have you previewed homes? Have you started playing around in the systems to make sure that you can do it on a quick basis and that you're accurate when you're looking at information? Have you noticed trends? If you're looking at one specific neighborhood, have you noticed the prices of those homes going up, going down, staying consistent? If you're looking at homes that have sold, are you noticing that, hey, a commission is always 2.5% or it was 3%, or the sellers were not given a concession on any of these deals, or the sellers are given a concession? You want to know something? By looking at the information and getting the data from homes that have sold, that is what makes you an expert. If you have free time, go through and preview. You know, there are times that you can come into a market center and you'll see a seasoned agent doing nothing more than staring at the screens, going through and previewing homes. They're looking at a bunch of different things. One, they're probably looking at their next property they're going through. They're looking for their clients, but then what they're also doing is subconsciously, they're getting an idea of what's going on in the marketplace. I was just at a seminar. Seminars for luxury agents. And in this seminar, we had Brady Sandoval, one of the top luxury agents in the country. And he said, if you want to grab more listings, the secret and the key to that, understand buyers. If you can understand the buyers, think about what your listing presentation sounds like. So if now I'm going into whatever neighborhood, I'm in Timonium, and I look and I see, you know what, all the buyers who are coming in, they're all moving from Owens Mills. Well, the price point in Owens Mills was $400,000. Where they're moving to in this neighborhood, they're moving and the price is at $700,000. They all are coming in, they have enough money to pay their down payment, but they're not used to doing renovation and renovating their home. So we're going to have to make some concessions with that. You know what the buyers also are doing? A lot of them actually work with Cerner. I'm not sure what it is with Cerner going on right now, but I can see that Cerner is also promoting because they're close to that area. So now I already have the in. Guess what your seller hears? That you're an expert in the buyer market. You're going to be able to sell their home very quickly if you know what the sellers are looking for or know what the buyers are looking for. So you can speak to that as an expert. You can start to look at a few things. You can start to uncover motivations for people. You'll understand what's necessary to get deals. You can speak terms that your consumers will understand. These are things that you should be doing on a daily basis, talking to 10 people, previewing homes, going through, build your confidence. The more you do that, the better it'll be. All right. Well, I'll wrap us up, but are there any questions that anyone has? Anything that you want to cover, any details, something of note that we took value in that we want to share with others?
I do
Also,
have- I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I do have a question. I know earlier you mentioned that we should have a business account.
Mhm.
One of the accounts we should have is a business account. And I also recall you mentioning if you're by yourself, then you could be a sole proprietor.
Yep.
How does that, I'm wondering, how does that work? Like as far as, because as a sole proprietor, you would use your own name, correct? So how does
Yeah.
that work for tax purposes? Like,
So-
like, for instance, if you're like going with what you mentioned earlier, if you're paying yourself a salary from the business, how is that gonna go with the IRS where it's your name as the business name paying yourself a salary? Like, how does that work?
So that's where you have to check with your tax advisor, right? Because there is a difference. You being a sole proprietor means that you're not really paying salaries out to yourself as a sole proprietor.
It's all one income.
Correct.
Mhm.
But you having your account separate gives you a couple things. So when you're a sole proprietor on your tax forms, you're filling out a Schedule C. On the Schedule C that you have, you're breaking down the money that you invested into your business. You're going to look at depreciation, meals and entertainment, travel, office expenses that you have. You're going to be able to list all those things down for your sole proprietor, right?
Mhm.
You can break those things off. But if you have it all coming from one separate account, it's going to be a lot easier for you to go through and track. Because what you might find, especially if you give it to an accountant, they may be looking at your 12 months worth of bank statements to find out what was a business expense. As they're going through your bank statements, it's going to be a lot easier if the bank statement they're going through is what you've dedicated as your business account. To open up a business account is relatively simple with the bank. If you've actually filed a trademark for that business name, great. If you have a previous year 1099, they'll use that. Banks aren't really picky on you opening an account because to them, they just think it's an opportunity for them to get more money.
Okay.
Yep. But those multiple accounts are more for your organization than it is for you to use as a tax shelter. All right. That's just organizing so you know what money's where and where it's going. And it makes it a lot easier for you to file your taxes at the end of the year with.
Okay.
Everybody, before we go, if you are on your computer, if you wouldn't mind, Debbie asked a question earlier. Go to your Facebook account and please friend Debbie.
Let's see. Is your name the same on Facebook as it is on here?
Yes, it is.
And Debbie, what you did, you're creating a community. You're creating a community that you're going to grow with, that you're going to develop with, and people who are going to develop along with you. When you have questions, you're going to find that they're either going through the same thing at the exact same time, or they've already been through it, or you're going through something that they're going to come back and ask you questions because now you're going through it before they are. So yes, you mentioned it earlier. I was going to make sure that everybody went through and that they go through and make sure they add you as a friend as well.
Do you have any or does anyone have any recommendations for like I don't even know what word to use, an app or something to use on social media for creating real estate content?
Yes. So you all have a tool. If you, all right, it's going to be impromptu. I'm going to see if I can share it. One sec.
And I haven't actually started posting anything in reference to real estate just because I don't feel like I'm ready for that yet. I feel like I need to get more training before I start marketing myself to.
So I'm going to challenge you on that. You are ready.
to get business. I'm not ready.
But I'm gonna tell you, let me tell you why you're ready. It's not that you have the largest wealth of knowledge in the world, but you have a support staff that won't let you fail. The Market Center alone is there to support and to guide you through the transaction. There is a phrase in the English language that is very powerful, and it can be taken out of context, but usually it's only taken out of context by the person that says it. It's 3 words. I don't know. There is nothing wrong with not knowing, because you follow that phrase up with, but I can find out. You as a real estate agent, you aren't being hired because you're the expert of all things. You get hired because you're the person that connects somebody with their goal. If their goal is to purchase the house, they see them having that opportunity to be able to get that through you. If my goal is to sell the house, I feel that you're going to be the person that connects me with my goal. That is your focus. And if that's what your focus is, then yes, you're capable. You're ready to be able to do that now. There isn't an overwhelming wealth of knowledge that you have to have, or a sense of expertise that's needed for you to be able to do that. And so don't put yourself into a position that you think you need to know everything, because today I just finished learning more things, right? Like I'm always engaged in learning something. So you'll always do that. I'm going to answer your question first. So you asked, is there content that you could share? So when you go into your command account, in your command account, right here, there are design updates, right? So all we got to go through is go into the designs, or you can come in over here. No, my internet is slow, so bear with me.
You said design updates?
Yep. If you're on the left-hand side, you go down, it's the 3rd from the bottom, and there's a little like paintbrush on the sign, it's design. When you click on that, that'll bring you into your KW editor. Or we brand, or many different phrases people have given to it. But actually it took me 1 page too far.
Can I give Sharon some advice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so did I hear you say you haven't made one post yet?
I've only announced that I am now a licensed realtor. I haven't made a post in reference to real estate at all as of yet.
Okay, so one thing that I would do if I were you, or a great idea, how about you post your journey? Post your journey. You know, it's so amazing how some of us, like for me, I know this is weird, but I watched the Kanye West's documentary, well, part 1. And I thought to myself, even though I'm not Kanye, right? How would it be just to document my journey, so that one day when I am on a TED Talk, okay, that I can reference what I have been through, what I have experienced. And so for you, if you don't know what to post about your day as in the life of a new real estate agent.
I think that's a good idea.
It's actually a great idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
People love to help. I mean, if you go through that and people see what it takes, what you go through, people will be very, very receptive to it. So this just shows you your editor that you have in command. You literally can go in and create anything that you want that you can post. This is actually just talking about a neighborhood, which when you go into command, you actually can update the neighborhood very easily, actually, if my internet works with me. So let's go through a snapshot.
I have trouble finding my neighborhoods. But
Go by zip code is the easiest way that I do it.
yeah, I couldn't get that to work.
Hmm?
Yep,
It worked before.
it doesn't work now.
Actually, just worked earlier today. I don't know what's going on.
The other problem I have, because I've tried this several times, I've actually posted a few times and then I deleted it. It doesn't, it puts it in my post and shows the software that, in other words, it's not like an embedded image, but most of the post is saying that, whatever this software is. So it's, I want my post to just be this image, right?
Are you, and you're downloading and you're getting that same error message?
I'm not downloading. I have it connected to my Facebook page.
Okay, I download and then connect that through.
I mean, download the image and then,
And then upload it and into your Facebook.
Yep.
Is that what you do?
Yep.
Okay, I'll try that because I thought it didn't look professional the other way. So I had just connected my Facebook, where you can connect all those
You can go
software.
through. Well, and the reason I like downloading first is because if I didn't have my format correct, or if I didn't line something up perfect, at least I can see it on the download before I transition over.
Okay. Yeah, because I was quick to delete it because I'm like, I don't like how that looks. So I deleted it off.
Debbie, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you left your other job as of yet?
Oh, no. Mm-mm. No, I'm working. I work my other job now from 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And then I work this job now from like 2 to what time is it? I'm very tired. I really cannot wait until I can transition to just one job.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Now you
Because
give me
when I know I saw Mike Bailey, the gentleman that did the class last night, I saw him go through his journey of being dual careered and then switching over to just real estate. And I know it was a little rocky for him in the beginning. In which he's the one that shared his story with me, how it was a little rocky for him in the beginning, but he feels as though he may have jumped ship too soon.
Right.
So I'm just trying to, I just am interested in speaking to other dual careered agents just to see what their journey is like as far as, being dual careered is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm targeting, I really would like to phase out by March of 2023, but I don't know. I have a large family. My husband's disabled, and while our children are grown, I have 5 children and 15 grandchildren. I have one daughter and her family that lives with me, and I'm really the only breadwinner with everybody. So I can't really just abandon my other job until I can support myself and my family.
Right. Understood.
But it has me motivated, right?
So, Debbie, if that's the case, what is the number? And you may not have to share, but then again, we're all family here. But have you broken that goal down, not just to the financial number, but the number of homes that you need to sell for you to reach that goal?
Well, based on what I learned tonight, I've got to do my own math. I got to sit down and think that through. I've got to also, there's some expenses I could reduce. I need to look at that as well. While we were on the phone, I mean, on this Zoom, I downloaded QuickBooks and I started writing some numbers down for some ideas, and I'm going to spend this weekend really formulating that. So.
And I'm going to tell you the hardest advice that I received. It's also the best advice, but it's the hardest advice. Fail. Go forward and fail. If you do that, what you're going to find is, one, you're going to have levels of success. But what really ends up happening is you took a step that you normally would not have taken. And you're going to move forward and you're going to be one step closer to your goal. And you know what? Even if you do fail, you just found out that this isn't the right path. Now I just got to tweak it just a little bit, but I'm moving forward. Fail. Don't be afraid of it.
Failure, there could be a domino effect though. That's how I perceive it. If I jump ship now at my job, I'm a medical coder.
Mhm.
If I leave my job now, there's going to be a serious ripple effect if I were to leave.
Mhm.
But I need to get out as soon as possible because my child care is extremely flaky. Like next week, they're telling me my child can't come. And I'm like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to do? I need to hurry up and get into this real estate so that I won't have to be in this predicament anymore.
Okay, so here's the thing. Failing doesn't just look like leave our job and just go knee deep in. We got to be strategic with it. So here's the first thing. For you to close on a home, for you to get a commission check, you have to have a client that you're working with that's writing offers or giving you a lease, sign a listing agreement, right? You mentioned that you're afraid to put yourself out there because you don't know enough. Maybe that's where you need to fail. Put yourself out there and see what happens. You might not get accepted on the first one, but if you get accepted on the second one, now you're one step closer towards leaving that job.
And you
guess
know,
what your experience
I've made mistakes just in the last, few weeks, and I'm not letting it, destroy me. I'm not, completely losing my mind over it because I know I'm going to learn with every single transaction, and I'm kind of giving myself a break. As long as I learn and as long as I know I catch myself and I fix it and I own it, then I figure, I'm doing the best that I can do.
Mhm. But it starts there, and that's the thought process. If you take that first step, right? If you're willing to say, you know what? Matter of fact, somebody else has their home on the block and it's already listed for sale. What does it look like to call somebody else and say, hey, would you mind going to look at this house with me? You never know. That might be the person who ends up buying it, but you spark something. Have that conversation. Reach out, take that step. The worst thing that happens is they tell you no, and guess what? When they tell you no, you're going to learn one of two things. Either I need to be better at what I just told them or what I asked them, or I don't need to ask that same question again. I might have failed on that one, but now I can keep going forward and keep pushing. And you had a mentor that was similar to mine. As that will say all day long, man, it's already done. Go to the next one. Here we are. Let's go.
One of the things I did, I've been wearing my name tag like all the time. I wear it at the grocery store and doctor's appointments. I wear it everywhere when they take the kids to school. My husband, in fact, when we were at the grocery store this weekend, he said, I can't believe you still have that name tag on. Why do you have your name tag on? We're just grocery shopping. And I said, because, it's the scenario of me seeing people in the grocery store and walking up and saying, hey, I'm in real estate. I feel like that's pushy. Whereas if I've got my name tag on and I go up and say, hey, Susan, hey, it's great to see you. Give me a hug. And they're like, oh, are you with Keller Williams? I'm like, yes, I am. I just started with that and I love it. And so they actually start the conversation with me. So I don't feel like I'm shoving it down their throat. You know what I mean?
You know what you just said? They know you. They like you. They know what you do. If they trust you, they'll be the ones to use you. All you got to do is stay top of mind to them.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
So where do we get the name tags from?
I ordered it from one of the approved vendors on the my KW. So
Okay. Let's do that.
You ordered your name tag yourself?
yep.
Mhm.
Oh, they give you one free.
I think they do. I think there is a program where you can get one free.
No, they give it to you. They ordered my first set of business cards and gave me a name tag.
Yeah, what you're going, and I can answer that being a team leader. Every market center is a little bit different on where they will give to you. So that's where you'll start to find variance from one market center to the other. So some will give
She
you.
and I are the same one.
Yeah, so they'll probably give you the cards, the name tags, where other market centers, they give you different things. So, but once you get your first set, if you ever order in new, then Debbie's right. You just go to the approved vendor list on my KW, and you can order from there.
This has been a good class. I got a lot out of it too. I mean, a lot of the classes have been really great, but
Well, I appreciate hearing that. You know what's funny? I said, you know what? I've cut down a lot today. I only think the class is going to last an hour. Here it is, 2 hours later.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Great
you.
presentation. Great job. Thank you so much.
it was good.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Well, hey, you guys are phenomenal, and I can't wait to see the path that each of you take. And stay connected to each other. You guys will carry each other through, but you also are the community that grows together.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared when we don't have this where we're together because I've gotten really attached to everybody.
Look, shoot me a message. I will turn on my Zoom link, and you guys can just jump on anytime you want. Honestly, you laugh, but I'm so serious. There's a time that I lead gen on Zoom with other people. We weren't face to face, but at least I knew that somebody else was going through what I went through. So if I had an exciting moment, especially during the pandemic when we weren't by each other, there was nothing worse than having a great phone call, walking around pumped up in my house, and then there's nobody there who can be excited with me.
Right.
Even on the Zoom, people can see the big smile come across your face, and now you get motivated. So no, I'm dead serious. If you send a note, I will be happy to turn my Zoom on if I'm not using it. You guys jump in, network. Director of relationships, for God's sakes. That's what we should be doing.
I really appreciate this class. And there's another one tomorrow, right?
There is.
But then our last one's next week, right? Just the one. Isn't last week, next week, the last of the class?
Yeah, usually I jump in and always teach one of the first two. But this time I signed up late, so I'm in the tail end. So I think we got just a few classes left. But
Yeah.
that means you guys got a lot of things that you should be implementing and that should already be going forward inside of your business.
We do. That's why I really need to not have to be doing the other job in this one too. Because I have a to-do list that's huge.
Well, has anybody told you about the one thing yet?
That
All right, they haven't. Hold on. All right, I'm in the process of redoing and remodeling my office, so I don't have all my stuff together. But this book, The One Thing, right? So your market center should have a copy. Now I'll summarize it for you, but this is really the premise of what you want to go through. It is honestly broken down this simply. Every one of us, we all have a to-do list that is a mile long. I guarantee that on our mile long to-do list, there probably might be one overachiever, but I can tell you on my to-do list, I didn't accomplish everything. But on my one thing list, I did accomplish the 3 things that were a must for me to take care of today that are the core advocates of my business. The one thing basically looks at it and says, what is the one thing that if you accomplish that today, the rest of your results will come? So if you break it down from a story, and I think you would have heard this in the very first class, they said that, the original principle came from the Pareto principle. He noticed that in his town, 80% of revenue came from 20% of the people. The 20% of the people, they didn't do 100% of the work. They did 20% of the work, but they got 80% of the revenue. And then you start applying that principle to everything else that's there. Now I have a jar that I usually go through when I put things together. But if you look at that to-do list, break it down. What is the one thing that if you did that one thing, other things become insignificant? So Debbie, you mentioned that you have your other job that you go through, but you want real estate to take over. What's the one thing that you need in real estate so that the other job can go away? You're wearing your name tag for it. You need clients, right? If you had 10 listings right now, all under contract, I'm sure you'd be happy to say, all right, that job can go ahead and
You got that right.
matter of fact, it can kiss the old horse tooth that you talked about earlier today, right? So if that's the case, then what's the one thing? Getting clients. So if that's your one thing, how do you focus on that? How do you get that? What do you need to do for it? You know, even the class that we went through today, setting up your financial structure. Well, that's great. That's all fine and dandy, but you got to have the commission check coming to have this financial structure set up. So focus on your one thing. If you put your effort and your energy into that, everything else will fall into place. Because I guarantee if you came to your market center tomorrow and you had 5 buyers, 5 sellers all ready to go, you're going to be worried about, all right, well, what paperwork do I need? How do I get this set up? How do I get it taken care of? I guarantee you'll have people jumping to help you because they see that you got this in place. They'll make that an easy process for you. It won't even be anything that you have to worry about because you'll have the business that's there. We had a young lady, she came to the market center. In her first day, she sold 4 homes. She didn't know. And I'm gonna be very respectful when I say this, but this is also one of those words that gets misused in the English language, which is, goes back to the 3-letter phrase, I don't know. It's ignorant. She was very ignorant to anything. The only thing she knew is she was told that she gets her license, somebody would say that they want to sell a house. She got her license. She put it out for the world that, hey, I'm a licensed agent. Let me know when you're ready. And she got the phone call while she was here in the office, and they said, all right, I'm ready to go ahead and list the house. Just to let you know there's 4 of them. That was the most terrifying phrase that she ever had. She didn't know what the hell to do. So she says, what do I do now? Do I get something signed? Do I go out to see him? I said, all right, well, first things first, where are the properties? She had that address. As we walked around the market center, because I normally walk and talk, I'm usually always in motion. Before we finished walking around the market center, another agent heard that she had 4 properties. All 4 of them were sold before she even looked at a contract for the first time.
Wow.
But it's about that thing. She took that step out and she knew if nothing else, she needed to let people know she's in real estate.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. Make it simple. The simpler you make it, the easier it becomes. If you want to get away from any job that you're in, if you want to get out of the financial situation you're in, I will break down my numbers for you because I know it off the top of my head. These numbers have been the same for me since I started 16 years ago. 15, 8, 4, 2. If I call 15 people a day, I'm going to talk to 8 of them. If I talk to 8 of them, I'll get a chance to probably meet with 4 of them. Out of 4 that I meet, 2 of them are going to be significant and good appointments or get me set up that we will close or we will do some type of business together. 15, 8, 4, 2. That has always been my numbers. That has been my vitamins that I work by. So in my one thing, in the conversation that I have with my assistant today, I actually asked this question. I said, you know what? We're not tracking how many calls we're making a day. And again, I am not big on making phone calls. I would rather meet with you face to face. I also know that the only reason that 8 is there is because I can't talk to more than 8 people in a day because I talk for an hour at a time. So strategy to this. So if I do that, then I know I always hit my goals. So if I think about my one thing is, how can I try to get to my 15? How can I contact 8 people? If I do that, everything else will fall into place. All the rest of my numbers will be there. I no longer worry about it. I just worry about, can I hit that goal? Now, what happens is, and this is where we get to help you out, and we get to jump in and coach and train. If I go talk to 8 people and I can't schedule either an appointment or a follow-up conversation with 4 of them, then I know my conversation needs to change. But let's say out of the 8 people I talk to, I go meet with 6 of them. Out of the 6 people I meet, let's say none of them want to work with me. They know you, they like you, they know what you do, they trust you, they usually do business with you. If none of the 6 people want to do anything with me, then either I need to go take a shower that day, or I need to go fix what I'm talking about, right? But this is where we start